Willett. I am the IB coordinator for the middle years program and our diploma program. Tonight, I'm going to be talking specifically and solely about the transition from 10th grade, should someone wish to join us in the diploma program. So going through that, if you want to follow along on your own, sometimes I like to make sure that I have access to the presentation while someone is speaking. You can actually go to myersparkib.org. It's right on the homepage. It's the first linked presentation that's right there for you. If you find that you have questions, please feel free to email me or we can schedule a time to chat. But this is just going to be an information session trying to help people understand there's a lot going on in IB. There's definitely a lot of moving parts in the diploma program. So just want to start to have you think through what that might look like for you. And here we go. So who and what is the International Baccalaureate Organization? So they define themselves in their mission statement. The IB aims to develop inquiring, knowledgeable, and caring young people who help to create a better and more peaceful world through intercultural understanding and respect. And then what does the IB do? The IB develops challenging secondary program or a course of study of international education and rigorous assessment. And what is the goal of IB? It is to encourage students across the world to become active, compassionate, and lifelong learners who understand that people with their differences can be right. And this is what the IB refers to and identifies as international mindedness. And through this mission statement, the IB develops programs or curriculums of study. In fact, the IB has 4, and we offer 2 of them at Myers Park High School. In fact, Myers Park High School has been an IB World School since 1992. In fact, in 1992, we became the very first public school in North Carolina to offer the IB diploma program. And in 1994, we became the first school, public or private, to offer the middle years program. So the middle years program is solely for our 9th and 10th graders. So some students have engaged in the middle years program up to this point. They are working towards an MYP certificate. And then they are also working towards making sure they have the course curriculum all set up, ready to go if they wish to go into the diploma program for our 11th and 12th graders. So our 11th and 12th graders is only for the diploma program. In fact, the IB is quite strict about who can join in the diploma program. We'll talk about that, especially as we get into coursework. There's a little bit of exceptions to that, as there is with everything. Our students in the diploma program are working towards an IB diploma and college or university credits per course, which is pretty exciting for some students as they move forward with that. You may have seen this recent document published by Mr. Folk in recent days talking about different academic programming and the changes that are going to happen with that. I will not be speaking towards any of that tonight. Mr. Folk has planned to do that in the very near future, and so he'll be talking about that. But what I will be doing tonight is talking about one of the options that our students have after 10th grade, and that is the IB diploma program. And so that is where I am going to look for that. So the IB defines the diploma program as a challenging academic curriculum that serves as outstanding preparation for university and higher education, a student-centered approach to teaching focused on developing students intellectually, emotionally, physically, and socially, as opposed to preparation just for test taking only. So the IB looks that we are developing learners, not just test takers. There is a focus on that international mindedness, compassion, and understanding intercultural differences. It is a respected, reliable, and world-renowned academic preparation. And so the IB publishes its curriculum every year. It is rigorously reviewed. All teachers and all programs have to be reviewed. So for example, our program was just reviewed in 2020, and we will go through another 5-year evaluation again. So we are constantly inspected, and teachers have to go through training to make sure that we are all within this international standard. And it is because of this that universities tend to regularly cite that the diploma students are the best prepared for higher education. And our diploma program graduates excel at university and often begin their studies with advanced learning. So oftentimes they end up joining the colleges and universities they go to with advanced credits. On the right-hand side of the screen, you will see the curriculum model. We're going to unpick that curriculum model a little bit just to make sure that we understand what the diploma program is asking of students and how it is a program of study and not just course selection. That is really important to consider when thinking about the DP. So this is perhaps my favorite joke that students always kind of groan and roll their eyes at me with, and I am more than okay with that. It is really a tale of 2 diplomas. So when a student joins us in the diploma program, they are not only working towards their North Carolina public schools and Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools and Myers Park High diploma, they are also working towards their International Baccalaureate diploma. And so they're working towards 2 of those. Students still working towards the IB diploma are given a very fancy term. They are referred to as IB Diploma Candidates. And these courses that they take can give them individual scores that can translate also into those university credits. So even if the student doesn't end up achieving the IB diploma, chances are they're also going to receive credits that will get them higher credit at university. There's also another term that we use. It is called IB course candidates. And this is for students who are just enrolled or 1 or 2 IB classes. We have a few classes that we open up to the entire school, even if a student is not a diploma candidate. But I put that in italics because that is not the norm. So that is not the typical pathway that students take at Myers Park High School. It is also a CMS requirement that students work towards the full diploma. This graphic helps to explain what we are going to go through. There are 2 pathways that get us to the IB diploma, and the first are the subject area requirements, and then what the IB refers to as the IB core. And so hopefully by the end of this presentation, you will understand exactly what this graphic is looking at and helping us to understand. So in the diploma program, there are 6 academic areas. These are programmed or concurrent study, a broad range of academic areas, and students have a flexibility and choice of the subjects and the specific subjects that they're studying. The IB core is not flexible in that all students in the DP need to take theory of knowledge, which we lovingly refer to as TOK. They have to participate within their community, which we refer to as creativity, activity, and service, and they also must write the extended essay. And so at the very center of this curriculum model is what we refer to as DP philosophy, where we start with the IB learner profile, approaches to learning, and approaches to teaching. And that is what I love about the IB is that the IB keeps the learner at the very center of this curriculum model. And what the learner profile is it's habits of mind that we want students to be able to develop as they go throughout their studies. We want them to become inquirers. We want them to be knowledgeable thinkers, communicators, principled, open-minded, caring, risk-takers, balanced, and reflective. And so you'll often hear us refer to our Myers Park community. We want all of our learners to do this. We want them all to start to think about how do they shift towards these mindsets, especially within their learning. The second piece is really the philosophy of teaching that happens in all IB programs and specifically at the diploma level, and that is approaches to learning and approaches to teaching. Approaches to learning can best be thought of the skills that we develop in encouraging students to learn how to learn. So again, we use acronyms a lot in IB. You'll hear this referred to as an ATL or approaches to learning skill. The IB has identified communication, social, self-management, research, and thinking as the overarching skills that we want students to be able to develop through all of their coursework, all the way from 9th grade English, all the way up to their 12th grade. And how can they use those skills that are transferable, not just between levels of subjects, but also just between learning as well. So how do we develop those communication skills that are going to serve us well in university preparation and beyond, but also just in life? And so we know that, especially even self-management, how do we manage our time? How do we make sure that we're organized? What does that look like? And so this is specifically called out in the curriculum, in the IB curriculum, where teachers need to identify how they are teaching this, how it relates to their content, but also how it relates to developing students as those learners and going back to that learner profile as well. Just to give you an example, we refer to this as cognitive, metacognitive, and affective. We separate it into those 3 areas when we're thinking about how do we specifically teach this for our students. The approaches to teaching is a way to think about how do we teach those learning how to learn? What does that look like? What does the instruction look like in an IB DP classroom? And specifically, the IB wants us to lead students through learning. We don't want to just tell our students what they need to know. We want them to discover it. We want them to engage in that process. We call that process inquiry. It is also focused on a conceptual understanding. And one of the reasons why the IB focuses on this is because if a student understands concepts, they can transfer those concepts from subject to subject. So perhaps it's the concept of, in history, it might be states' rights. And what does that look like? And how do we know that that transfers from subject to subject? And what does that look like? We want it taught in local and global contexts. We want them to be able to relate to what's happening in the local area of Charlotte, but also in the globe as well. It is focused on developing effective teamwork and collaboration. So how do we encourage students to learn how to work together? We make sure that we differentiate our lessons to meet the needs of all of our learners. And we use assessment to inform instruction. So in classroom, we tend to refer to those as formative and summative assignments. How do those inform where our students are and then where they need to go? And I'll repeat this probably many times, but it is as a result of this, especially with the approaches to teaching, that all of our diploma program teachers are required to attend extensive and ongoing training through the IB, especially if it's certified with that. The next area that we'll take a look at is on our curriculum model is the core. So the extended essay, the theory of knowledge, creativity, activity, and service. And I have 11th and 12th grade because these happen and start in the 11th and the 12th grade and carry over into that point. So the three elements that these work together with is they support and are supported by the academic disciplines, those specific courses. These particular elements of the core foster international mindedness. And we believe that it helps to develop self-awareness and a sense of identity. And so as we dig into those, we'll first take a look at what is that theory of knowledge course. It is a 2-year course, meaning that students do need to register for that course when they are signing up for the IB diploma program. It is fundamentally about critical thinking, and it is an inquiry into the process of knowing rather than learning about a specific body of knowledge. So there won't necessarily be a specific study on perhaps chemistry, but it will be thinking about what is the knowledge that we build in chemistry, and then why do we associate it with chemistry? It examines the nature of knowledge and how we know what we claim to know. It encourages students to analyze knowledge claims and explore questions about the construction of knowledge. And it emphasizes connections between the areas of shared knowledge and links them to personal knowledge. This is assessed by the IB by a TOK essay. It is uploaded to our IB information system, what we lovingly refer to as IBIS. And it is externally marked, meaning that it is sent off to IB examiners over in Geneva and in Cardiff, and they will be the ones who actually grade and look through that work our students do. They also will give a TOK exhibition starting last year, actually with this year's seniors. They give a TOK exhibition, which is marked internally by our teachers and then also moderated by the IB. And moderated by the IB means that the IB takes a look at the work that we send, make sure that we are actually giving accurate assessment grades to our students. There's also the extended essay. This is a 4,000 word independent research essay on a subject area of choice from the student. So the student drives 100% of what they want to learn about and what they want to research. So it could be from one of the subjects they study. We highly recommend that. It could be an interdisciplinary subject, but this is where they're really going to develop those independent research and writing skills that are expected at the university level. It is intended by the IB to promote high-level research and writing skills, intellectual discovery, and creativity. And it is an opportunity to engage in authentic learning experiences as students choose to research a topic of choice. And they do this with the guidance of a supervisor. So they are given a supervisor in their academic area of study. We try very hard to make sure that that happens for students, where they can ask them questions regarding the writing and the research process. This is assessed by uploading it to IBIS, our IB information system, and the IBO examiners are the ones who grade it and mark it for us. We know that students are really busy, and so we run the extended essay, which is intended to be an independent research essay. We actually give them lots of support within their TOK classrooms, and so our TOK teachers really support them, provide them some work time if they need that time in class to be able to do that, and that's one of the reasons that we use that TOK class time to do that. The last part of the core is perhaps my favorite and perhaps the one that students sometimes groan at me over, but it is our creativity, activity, and service. And so colloquially, we might refer to it as community service. But what I love about this is it goes a little bit more in depth. It doesn't just ask a student to go out and do X number of hours in terms of learning. But what it instead does is gives them 7 goals that they want students to be able to develop and to extend their own learning. And you'll see those over there on the left-hand side of the screen. And it goes anywhere from we want students to be able to identify their own strengths and develop areas for growth, all the way down to recognizing and considering the ethics of voices and actions. And this is part of the reason that the IB separates this into 3 different categories called creativity, activity, and service, because we know that students are going to want to make sure that they develop their own creativity. So this could refer to if a student is involved in band, or perhaps they sing, or perhaps they're involved in art and want to really develop that and what that looks like, or they decide to take up crocheting. That's really exploring what that may look like. The IB knows that healthy people are usually physically active in some sort. And so this is why they have that place there. We want students to develop these lifelong habits. So this refers to any physical exertion that they may do. So for example, if students are, practicers of yoga, or they take walks, or they play sport for a school team or a league team, these all things count towards their CAS experiences. And so that way they can do that. This is perhaps what the IB refers to as the mission statement to create a better and more peaceful world, because the IB knows that when students engage with their community, whether it's through creativity, activity, or service, that they're developing themselves and making that world a better place around them. The IB does assess this. We have to send this off to them if they've met those 7 outcomes and completed a CAS project, and it is either met or not met. And so students are supported by having a CAS handbook. Their CAS coordinator and their IB coordinator tend to go into TOK to talk to them about that and what that means. And I monitor all that they put into, we use the program called ManageBack to record those activities. And so then the next part of our curriculum model is the subject groups. And this is perhaps what students tend to think about the most when they're thinking about joining the IB diploma program. So this is where it is more of a program of study rather than just an a la carte grabbing classes that we might be interested in, because the IB wants that breadth of knowledge to make sure that students are well-rounded and they have a good foundation in all subject areas as they move on. And so therefore, the IB requires that students take at least one course in each of the 6 group offerings. So group 1, they refer to as language and literature. We would tend to refer to that as English, since that is the language of instruction and the language that we speak. Group 2 is what IB refers to as language acquisition. We refer to as world languages. Group 3, individuals and societies. We tend to refer to it as social studies, can also be English at times. Group 4 are sciences. It is the same. Group 5, mathematics, about the same. And then group 6, IB refers to it as arts. We add on the electives piece, because that is really what that means, is that there are some electives. We're going to go through and analyze what this looks like and what those requirements are and how these are assessed by the IB. Students must choose at least one course in each of the 6 subject areas. Please note that an elective can be chosen from groups 2 through 4 and 6. That might make more sense in just a little bit. Subjects in the academic disciplines are taught at the higher level and at the standard level. Both receive the quality point towards their GPA. Students must test or choose to test at 3 higher level and 3 standard level. Students can also choose, if they choose not to do 3 HL and 3 SL, they can also do 4 higher level and 2 standard level courses. We tend to not recommend that. It's in part with the points that deals with how they get the IB diploma, but it is an option for some students. What the higher level and the standard level means is that the higher level goes a little bit more in depth into content. Standard level goes into just a regular amount of higher level coursework, content, and skill development. The majority of our classes are taught over 2 years, which is one of the benefits of the IB program. So students still receive credit. So we refer to their junior year, for example, IB English Literature HL1. They will receive a grade for that course on their high school transcript. And then they will enroll in IB English Literature HL2. They will also receive a grade letter for that and towards their GPA on their report card with us. But they do not complete all of their IB assessments until the end of the 2 years. So they really have those 2 years to develop those skills, that content knowledge, and it gives them that time to really develop that. There is a caveat in that our global and IB global politics, business management, philosophy, and psychology are 1-year courses, which means they will test at the end of the first year that they take that. We have gotten permission from the IBO to make sure that we can do that. And that is one of the reasons that we have those offered, is because of the content and the skill development is appropriate for a 1-year course for those classes. The IBO develops and sets that rigorous curriculum. So they publish curriculum guides that we need to follow and high quality coursework that is required in these courses. And it's set at that international standard. We'll talk a little bit more about assessment when we get to that piece of the presentation. On our website, myersparkib.org, there is a document called the IB course descriptions, and it is under 11th and 12th grade guides. Under the HL and the SL, you will see that they're underlined, and that means those are hyperlinked, and that is hyperlinked to the course descriptions published by the IB. So students who want to dig a little bit deeper into, what do I study in global politics, they can click on that SL link and it will take them to that IB course description guide. Help students just a little bit as they're going through that. We also have on our website a 4-year course plan that helps students plan their pathway all the way from 9th grade to 12th grade if they know that they are on the IB diploma pathway and they want to be. So you will see it is separated by groups, which and our subjects, what we tend to refer to them as. You'll see on the right-hand side on both the MYP and the diploma program graphic, you see 1 through 8. That is just there to show that we have 8 courses that students take at Myers Park High School in an academic year. Does not guarantee that English will be taught during first block, always as a little disclaimer, but it's there just to help us guide us through. We are an open enrollment program, which I love, and I'm very excited for that, especially at the MYP. In the DP, we are open enrollment with the understanding that students must have completed Math 3 and the 3rd level of a world language prior to entering into the diploma program. And students should understand that when they are signing up for the diploma program, that they are agreeing to take 1 course in all 6 subject areas, that 3 are at the higher level and 3 are at the standard level, or 4 HL and 2 SL. And they are signing up to take theory of knowledge, and they are signing up to complete CAS and the extended essay. So it's important when students sign up for classes that they know they are signing up for the program and not just for those additional courses that they are taking. So at Myers Park High School in Group 1, we do have a required course that meets graduation requirements for us, and that is IB English Literature HL. Students will take HL1 in their junior year, HL2 during their senior year. Group 2 is where there's a lot of variations. It is a 2-year course. We do have some students who are advanced in their study of a world language that we offer. And so we just need students to know that they have to take at least 2 years of this to make sure that they've met the testing requirements. So students will take the SL1, that'll be the first year. We do have some students who start their world language SL1 during their 10th grade year. And we offer 5 languages. We offer Chinese Mandarin, French, German, Latin, and Spanish. And then SL2 will happen during the 2nd year. So that could be a senior year or a junior year, depending on when SL1 was taken. They must be taken consecutively. So it can't be, I want to take SL1 during my 10th grade year and then SL2 during my senior year. That is not allowed by the IBO. They have to be taken consecutively. Students who start in the 10th grade with SL1 and then in the 11th grade take SL2 may want to go ahead and take the highest level of language and go on into the higher level of the 5 languages that we offer. And we refer to that as HL2 since it's the second part of that course. In Group 3, we do require, it meets a graduation requirement for us, the History of the Americas. That is also a 2-year course. Students during their junior year will take History of the Americas, or as we lovingly tend to refer to it as, HODA, during HODA 1, HL1, and then they may take HODA 2 during their senior year. They will take it. We do offer those 1-year electives that I mentioned, meaning that students will complete their assessment requirements for the IB at the end of their junior year. Those are IB Business Management SL1, Global Politics SL1, Philosophy SL1, and then Psychology SL1. Students will get a reportable score to colleges from those classes during that year. And if they like the score they have, they could actually be done with their elective during that year. So they could be done with their Group 6 at the end of their junior year. Sometimes students are really interested in that subject that they've taken, that SL1, and they want to go on into the higher level version of that course. And so we do offer that for a 2nd year during their senior year, where they could take Business Management, Global Politics, Philosophy, or Psychology HL2. And they would receive 2 reportable scores off to colleges and universities. They'd receive it for the SL part of the course and then the higher level version of that course. Group 4 is a required area. It's our sciences, and they are 2-year courses. All of these are taught at 2 years. And we have biology, chemistry, and physics HL. We start our students off at HL1 during their junior year. In their senior year, students can choose how they want to test in those courses. So they may choose that in biology, they want to test the standard level, or they want to continue on with HL. And they work with their teachers to make sure that they identify where they should test based on the requirements they have, if they have the 3 and 3 or the 4 and 2. And so students can do that. We also offer 2 sciences solely at the standard level, and that is our environmental systems and societies, and then our IB sports, exercise, and health science. Those are taught only at the SL level, and they still are 2-year courses, but they count for that science. Group 5, we offer IB analysis and approaches SL and IB analysis and approaches higher level. We also offer math and applications and interpretations SL, and this might be where you really want to talk to math teachers, finding out what is your preference, where do you want to go, where do you see yourself going off to university. You may also want to check what universities you're considering applying to and see what their requirements are. Specifically, if you're intending to travel internationally, or study internationally, you will want to check what those international schools require for you to enter. For example, we found that many German universities want to see a higher level science especially, and they want to see analysis and approaches math. So again, you want to check and just start to feel that out, what might be an opportunity for you. And then at group 6, we offer 2-year courses in the arts. Specifically, we offer film SL and HL, theater SL and HL, and visual arts SL and HL. And then if you recall, you can choose an elective anywhere out of the groups 2 through 4, and then obviously 6 is those arts. And then those 1-year courses specifically are in that group 3 that we specifically mentioned. This is just a reminder that the diploma program requirements is 1 course in all subject areas. There's 3 and 3 or 4 and 2, HL and SL, and then theory of knowledge class and CAS and extended essay. So what does the assessment in the diploma program look like? So the subjects are those HL and SL, and that each subject is assessed by a variety of components. So the IB recognizes that students don't just perform on one day. They recognize that a 1-day, 1 test doesn't necessarily capture the learning of students, and they want to honor that process that students go through, especially as we are teaching them to learn how to learn and the skill development they have. It's part of the reason that IB courses are 2 years in length, gives students time to mature into who they are and to move on from there, but also gives them time to learn those requirements that happen. So each subject is assessed by what they refer to as an internal assessment, or an IA. And this is an IB designed task that is done with teacher feedback. So there are regulations for each IA and the amount of feedback that students can receive, but this is effectively a class assessment where students are able to work with their teacher and get some feedback specifically on that work. They're also allowed to revise it, usually again with those regulations within each subject area. When students ask me how they can control what grade they're going to receive, this is usually where I instruct them. They have the most control over their internal assessments. The IB also has external exams. These are IB designed assessments. IB refers to them as papers, given at the end of the course. So that's usually at the end of year 2 in May, or at the end of year 1, depending on what course you've taken. And these two together, again, there are specific weightings for each course, but they result in a score on a scale of 7, which is the highest, to 1. And these scale scores are given grade descriptors, the IB grade descriptors. And I actually will link that. I intended to link that and I'd forgotten to do that earlier today. And you can see what a student should be able to do. These are the scores that are reportable to universities for credit, depending on those individual institutions. So you'll want to check and make sure that you know what your university is looking for and what course credit it may receive for you. The IB asks teachers to give predicted grades for students. So the teacher has to predict based on those IB grade descriptors where they see that student performing based on those descriptors for what they should be able to know and be able to do. The core is assessed a little bit differently. So the theory of knowledge has that TOK exhibition. It is IA-like in that it is an IB designed task where our teachers are able to give feedback, they're able to give information on it, and students present it in class. Our teachers assess it, they send it off to the IB, it is moderated by the IB where they make sure that we are giving the appropriate marks. And then there is a TOK essay, which is like an external exam. So students write that essay and they will send that off to the IB where external examiners do that. The extended essay is completely external, meaning that that 4,000 research essay based on that area of interest for students is sent off to the IB where they have external examiners who look at it. These are graded, both theory of knowledge and the extended essay are graded on a band of A, which is the highest, to F, which is not the highest. These give students potentially a transferable credit based on where they go in university. So sometimes there are places that may give you credit for the extended essay. You just really have to check with your institution if that's possible. Theory of knowledge, for example, depending on which universities give credit for that. The TOK and the extended essay also give a matrix of points for students, which will be applied towards their diploma and giving them some credits there. Again, teachers give predicted grades based on the student performance to predict what students are going to get. So I get a lot of questions about, what's the difference between IB versus AP? Both are really high level, rigorous course designs. And so I've put together a quick comparison just as you're considering which is best for you. So if we're looking just at IB, all the curriculum is connected. There's that idea of why it's broad and it's balanced and it's interconnected. So students are guided to learn how to think in those disciplines. We do have some 2-year and occasional 1-year offerings. The assessment happens in varied formats. There's a strong emphasis on writing. It's ongoing. There's a lot of verbal. So students, for example, in both English and in world languages have to record their voice and speaking, whether it's in that target language, as well as in our English class. The IB classes are focused on development of skills and driven by inquiry and project-based assignments. There are that community action components specifically within CAS. There are global standards that drive guidelines for curriculum components. There's an international focus, especially in the learner profile and in instruction. The IBO is a nonprofit organization, and there is an opportunity to earn those college and university credits per course. Again, always checking with that university. Advanced placement is run by the College Board. So they have single courses that are independent of each other. They do not work together or talk to each other. And most AP classes are 1-year classes. The assessment is typically one exam taken at the end of the course, whenever a student takes that course. Schools are relatively anonymous in taking curriculum implementation, so the College Board doesn't necessarily regulate what that looks like. There is, however, the opportunity to earn college and university credit per course. There is a further document on the website at the IB and AP overview for Myers-Brooke High School that you can click on that link. So just really important to know that those are both offerings for you at Myers-Brooke High School. Also, just to remind, students often ask, can I take IB and AP classes at the same time? The answer is yes, and I want students to think that through because those are both really rigorous sets of courses, and we want to make sure that students set themselves up to be emotionally healthy. We want them to be happy. We want them to have a life outside of school, as well as developing those social understandings as well. And so just thinking through, yes, they can, as long as they meet all the requirements of the IB program, but we want to make sure that they are healthy in what they're taking in terms of their course and their interests there. So why do students choose the IB diploma program? So the first is that breadth of study and that it develops those transferable skills. So students often talk about what they learned in their IB classes. They've been able to transfer that. And so by the time they make it to university, they're able to already have that basic skill set there where they can easily transfer their learning. It does focus on experiential learning, specifically that engagement with the community is documented. And we can prove to scholarships, to colleges, to all those involved that you do engage with the community and you've worked on developing yourself, not just focused on academics. Even though I've just gone through and explained the really structure of the IB, there is a lot of freedom. So even in those embedded in those IAs embedded in the extended essay is a lot of personal choice where you get to choose what you want to learn about and how you want to do that within the guidelines specified there. At Myers-Brooke High School, we also offer a lot of IB classes, so you're able to choose which course fits best for you within those subject group offerings. There's an intense focus on the development of academic skills, specifically those approaches to learning that we talked about, those research thinking, social communication, and self-management. And again, how do we transfer those from my personal life to my academic life to potentially, working with a nonprofit? What does that look like and how do we make sure that happens? There's an intense focus on that. There are global connections. So you have global curriculum and assessments. You will be working towards an international standard, which is the same whether you are in Israel or Norway or Argentina, you'll be working on the same global assessments that they are. And we are an IB World School. Not every school is an IB World School. It goes through a lot to get authorization. We are the oldest in North Carolina, which makes me even that much more excited, especially with the MYP. And we want to make sure that we carry on that really strong tradition that we have. And we're really excited that we have that to offer students, that really cachet that we have. It also shows that you're willing to be challenged. It shows that you're not just willing to take academic rigor, but you're also able to go beyond typical high school work that requires independent work and thought. And that goes a long way. People know that if you've done the IBDP program, that's just really important to say. That says something about you as a person and that you're willing to accept those challenges. In terms of university admissions, we've talked extensively tonight about that potential for college credit that earns students. But our school performance, we have a really strong performance in our teachers and our programming. In fact, we often exceed not only national expectations and outcomes, but often international, that we beat the world averages as well at Myers Park. And the IB is just a rigorous, high quality coursework, and it is respected around the world, in part because of the evaluations that they have schools go through, the training that they have teachers go through. IB is just a really well inspected curriculum that is well respected around the world. And of course, personal growth. This is something that, I went to put something in there to talk about what that was and what that might look like for you, but that's really for where you students get to fill that in. What does personal growth look like, both academically, socially, and how can the IBDP help you to do that? So the IB has actually prepared this 10 reasons why the diploma program is ideal preparation for university. It talks about that it increases your academic opportunity, that it shows that IB students care more about just than results. And the IBDP shows that to colleges and universities. They know that when you've engaged in the DP. It encourages students to become confident and independent learners. It is an international qualification. So should you earn that IB diploma, you then are eligible to attend any school in the world that you wanted to, any university. The IB frequently cites that their graduates are globally minded and that they encourage critical thinking, that DP students have proven time management skills. Sometimes it takes a little bit to develop that, but it is proven. It does force you to do that. The IB assessments do more than examine just techniques and just what you have on one day. It develops that lifelong learning for you. And it encourages those breadth and depth of learning because they're not taught in isolation. So in general, colleges and universities, the IB diploma graduates are highly sought after worldwide because of their well-rounded global perspectives and rigorous academic standards. Again, universities grant credit hours for some HL and SL IB courses and or for involvement in the program. And again, that just depends on where you do that. HL courses often receive more credit than AP courses. So again, something I really recommend students to do is to start looking at those universities and colleges that you may be interested in, and just to kind of do some pros and cons for what you're looking at. And of course, the DP program differentiates students in the college application process because of the character traits it cultivates. And so colleges know if you are a diploma candidate when you apply to their institution. And so here's just some quick data. I'm actually going to go through it pretty quickly for you, just so that you have it here. It is in the presentation. Again, you can find this presentation on myersparkib.org, where you can sift through it for what is your interest level and what you're looking at. But if this is on attending selective colleges and universities, in 2012, a study of diverse alumni from IB programs, and they focused on Chicago public schools. They found that compared to match sample, DP students were more likely to enroll in college, attend a more selective college, and stay enrolled in college. They found in 2011 that IB students were more likely than the national average to attend college full-time, with nearly 70% attending selective or more selective colleges. In 2012, that same study from Chicago Public Schools found that students reported that they felt more prepared to succeed and excel in their coursework. They had strong academic skills, especially related to analytical writing. They learned academic behaviors like work ethic, motivation, time management, help seeking, that were all sources of strength in that transition to college level work. And they identified preparation in the IB programs as a source of their success as college students. The average acceptance rate of IB students into university and college is 22% higher than the average acceptance rate to the total population. And the acceptance rate of IB students into Ivy League institutions such as Princeton, Yale, Brown, Harvard, Columbia, Cornell, Dartmouth, University of Pennsylvania is between 3% and 13% higher compared to the total population acceptance rate. And then they give specific colleges and universities and the IB students acceptance rates versus or in comparison to the total population acceptance rate. And then what is the difference between IB and the total population? So they have anywhere from Cornell and Duke all the way to the University of Miami. So the next are just some deans of enrollment that have given some quotes about the value of an IB college education that they look at. Specifically, we can take a look at what the Dean of Admissions from Harvard University said, that IB is well known to us as an excellent preparation. Success in IB program correlates with success at Harvard, and we are pleased to see the credential of the IB diploma program on the transcript. From Duke University, we know the quality of IB courses, and we think the IB curriculum is terrific. From Duke. There's also a graph that shows the IB students graduate from college at higher rates, so not just get into it, but also graduation from university. And then this is what IB graduates say about the learning experiences within the IB. Many of them say the assignments required help for future experience. It provides a challenge to prepare you for college. Someone said, I believe it makes an individual student who's globally aware as well as just educated. So again, makes you work hard. It gives the opportunity to understand subjects on an international level, which is vital in the current world. So you can go through that and read what other students and former students have said. So what are the next steps as you're learning about the diploma program and considering what your next academic pathway is? So just some considerations when you start to think about, is the IBDP right for you? I think the best question to answer yourself is, how do I respond when challenged? What does that look like? What is your first response? Do you shut down? Do you seek help? Do you talk to someone? What is that? How do you handle that? What does that look like? I would ask yourself, can I handle rigor, time management, and balance responsibilities? And are you ready to ask for help in those areas and seek help and assistance where that is? Because that's a huge asset, especially in the diploma program, which goes to that next bullet point, which is, am I able to self-advocate, seek help and assistance when needed? Again, it's a program of study, which you have me there, right? And part of my role, and the part I love about my job the most, is that I really get to interact with students and help facilitate what learning can look like for students. But a lot of the times we don't know unless students communicate with us. What do you need? Like, where is that? How can I help you? Sometimes it's a simple fix. Sometimes we need to seek some additional resources for students, but that's all what this is. The beauty of a program is making sure that we all work together. I think it's important to ask yourself what your goals are for the future. And then what is your why? So making sure that you as a student can identify, like, why are you interested in the diploma program, and being able to articulate that. And that can change as time goes on. As someone, just about to leave the 10th grade, that might look a lot different than as you're about to leave the 12th grade, but at least having that why, and why this is really important to you, and why this is the academic pathway of study that you've chosen. So we do find that there are some keys to success in IB. And so we've talked a lot about these, and you'll notice these pop up as our approaches to learning. But time management is just number one. The number one key to success actually in any academic program, I can say, is time management, and is keeping a planner. I keep two. I keep one for my personal life as well as for work. Sometimes it's trying to get them in sync, but it's really important. And parents, it's really important that students learn to write that down and not just keep it in their phones. So there's a lot of studies that point to the actual specific writing of due dates down on some sort of book or paper that they can physically see and map out, as opposed to just putting it in somewhere digitally. And so that would be my number one recommendation. That goes along with organization. How do you keep yourself organized in this, especially this digital world where we use Canvas and sometimes we turn in paper assignments? Making sure that you have systems that work for yourself. What does that look like, and how can you do that? We want students to develop strong study habits, not just cramming, right? Not just, making sure that you're prepared for the test the next day and then moving on, because that's not how IB works, right? IB works by making sure that these all go in succession, but making sure you have that. Identifying what motivates you. So there will be some days where things get overwhelming. So what is that motivation? How do we go back? And I would say that that's that why. Knowing that positivity helps, going back to thinking through how, what is my why? Why do I want to do this? Not toxic positivity. We don't want you to say everything's fine when it's not. That's not what we're looking for, but knowing that there is a purpose in doing the program. Thinking about, what is your response to adversity? How do you do that? Maybe it's through self-reflection, but always thinking about, how do you advocate for yourself, and what does that look like? And we want to make sure that we give you those keys, that you are equipped to advocate for yourself once you leave us. What is your school involvement like? And maybe even extracurricular involvement. What does that look like outside of school as well? IB DP courses take a lot of time and takes a lot of understanding what that's going to look like for your time. And then of course, we want you to invest in that personal development. That's all that CAS is about, is making sure that you develop you the way that you want to develop, which is very fun to say and a little bit existential. So your next specific steps are to consider your whys and your academic plans. You have a host of opportunities at Myers Park High School. But then if you do decide that the IB DP program is for you, then you will register for the DP program through selecting diploma level classes. You'll follow that guide that's in the presentation and on our Myers Park IB website that's there for you. And so that's how you do that. And then I will be in touch going through a little bit about the courses that you've taken, making sure that you've chosen the appropriate HLs, appropriate SLs, and then we get started, which is also very exciting. Thanks so much for coming. Please just remember that DP is just one of the academic programs that you have here at Myers Park to consider, but I'm glad that you considered it tonight. Our middle years program is again for our 9th and 10th graders. You can find more of this information on myersparkib.org. You can contact me. My email is on that website, so please feel free to reach out, but we'll be around, especially as you're making your decisions. So thanks so much for joining us tonight, and I look forward to working with you very soon. Have a great night, everybody.